the biggest enemy to Black progress, it's not white people, it's not Jewish people, it's not Asians, it's ignorance.
Going into 2025 and the country under new leadership, is there a direction that the Black community should be focused?
We have tried everything in our 400-year sojourn but one thing, and that's unity. And the first thing we invest in is education that unapologetically teach us who we are first. Because without the knowledge of self, we'll start going among other people trying to be them.
A safe space and a brave place. It's an honor, privilege, and a pleasure to be joined by a true leader today. Someone that has led me, has led our community, and is a thought leader and a peacekeeper, the one and only Minister Abdul Malik, aka Tony Muhammad. It's an honor, privilege, and a pleasure to be joined in a safe space and a brave place. Once again by someone I truly admire, truly the highest class of civilization, a leader, agent of change, and someone who has inspired so many as the Western regional minister since 1995 of the Nation of Islam, and has been doing great work for our community since then and beyond. Minister Abdul Malik, also known as Minister Tony Muhammad.
Yes, sir.
Such a pleasure.
Man, come on, brother.
Come on.
My pleasure. It's an honor to be here.
Yeah, when we get a chance to fellowship and meet, it warms my soul for so many reasons. I mean, you've guided me personally through so many challenging times in my life and triumphant times in my life as well.
Yes, sir.
And just always been a strong voice and support, you know, in the background and in the foreground when needed. So I built this specific platform, you know, as you know, it's not about canceling, but about counseling one another.
I love it.
You've been a great counselor to me and many others in this entertainment field, in this field of sports, in the field of activism. And you are, you know, one of our leaders, one of our mentors that we seek counsel from. So to get an opportunity to do that once again,
yes, sir,
is an honor. So I think I got to start, you know, in the space. Like I said, I'm in your office. I'm sitting on your couch. Our community as a whole. I mean, as we look at going into 2025, you know, under the country under new leadership, and is there a direction that the Black community should be focused in,
right?
Specifically our men, you know, that's what this platform is about. But I want to just start with the community as a whole, because I know you're on the front line. You see a lot of what's going on, and we would just love some guidance and some inspiration in that space.
Right. Well, first of all, Brother Nick, I just want you to know, man, it's an honor always to be on your show, because you're one of those brothers who not only has God blessed you with talent, but your love for the people.
Yeah.
And when I say the people, I'm talking about poor people.
Yeah.
Because most of the time you hear leaders speaking for the middle class and the wealthy,
Right.
but there's no voice for the poor. And in my 30 years of service here in Los Angeles, you're one of a handful of entertainers who I see coming back.
Right.
Not so much to give money, because you can't fix our community
Right.
with money before knowledge. You know, but you flow knowledge, you flow your experience, you give people a platform who most people don't give to. So to just be here, brother, and to share with you and your listening audience, I see this as a high privilege and honor.
No, indeed. I mean, and we're doing the work. We're in the fight together, you know, for our people in whatever class they're in, but specifically the underprivileged, the disserviced, and like I said, I've seen you operate in the space everywhere from, you know, ridding our communities of gang violence to bringing peace amongst races, amongst religion, economic development.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You know, and then ultimately spiritual upliftment.
Yeah.
And enlightenment. So it's a heavy job.
Absolutely.
And
a thankless one.
Yeah. So I mean, I would love to start in the space of, you know, progress, because I feel like we hear that preached often, but we don't necessarily get the instruction of how we should go about it. And then again, like just speaking of where we currently are, you know, and it's attainable, as we say, like to the from lower class to middle class to and beyond. You know, I feel like our people are in all of those spaces.
Absolutely.
But you know, it's getting the ultimate collective to really have that voice in the space of progress. What are those steps, a few steps that you believe that our community can take to continue to strive in that direction?
Right. Well, as a student of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, which again, most of our knowledge come from the premise of the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, we have tried everything in our 400-year sojourn but one thing, and that's unity. In order for us to get freedom, justice, and equality, we need to do what other ethnic groups have done. We are scared of the word separation, but every entity, every other ethnic group, even in Los Angeles, you could see it all over the place. And when I say separation, that don't mean separating from others with the intent of hating them.
Right.
I'm talking about separating with others of where we pool our resources together.
Right.
And we begin to do for ourselves what we've begged others to do for us.
Right.
For instance, when I took a couple of gang members, when they said to me that they run things, or they run their hood.
Yeah.
And I looked at them, and I remember years ago, I grabbed a group of so-called gang members. I said, come go with me. I want to show you something. And they wanted to know where I was taking them. But when I put them in my car, Brother Nick, we went downtown. And we hit Broad Street. And I pointed at a sign, big sign that was put up by the city of Los Angeles. I said, brothers, what did that say? And they looked up and say, Chinatown. I said, that's interesting. Isn't this America? Why would they carve out an area and name it after their continent? Then I said, look at all the signs on the stores. Can you tell me what these stores are? They looked. I said, wow, but Mama, I don't know Chinese. I said, isn't that interesting? What does that say to you who speak English? If you don't know this language and you don't know what's in this store, I don't need your business, because my people are supporting me at a tune to where if you come, it's fine, but I don't need you. And every store was packed.
Wow.
Then we got out. I said, now look, don't act out. I'm getting ready to show you something. And we went into one of the stores and I grabbed some goods. And the tenant in the store was helping everybody but me. And so some of the shot callers like, man, this is discrimination. I said, no, it's not. What? I said, it's called self-preservation. They're waiting on their people first. And when they finally got to me, I gave them the goods back and said, I just have some students and we're doing an experiment.
Right.
And we walked out. And I said, look up and down the street. Is that a bank? Yes, sir. Who's it for? I said, is that a clothing store? Who's it for? A police car passed by. I said, look at who's in that car. It was Asian police officers. I said, do you see a soul food restaurant? No. We got in the car. We went 2 blocks over. I said, what does that sign say? Little Tokyo. We went 8 blocks to the south. I said, what does these signs say? Koreatown. Then we went up to Glenwood. What does these signs say? Little Armenia. And then we went back to Slauson. And we went in the swap meet. I said, who's running this? And they lowered their head and said, wow. I said, now, that's gangster. Where's Africa Town? Where's our area? No one is accusing them of racism. People are applauding them because it's self-preservation. And their greatest talent, they're scholars, they're educators, they're entertainers. They come into that area to support them. That's beautiful. We should do the same. That's progress. And we got to stop begging for a Democratic Party or a Republican Party to do for us what we could unite and do for ourselves. We have a $1.7 trillion spending power, and the dollar don't circulate for 6 hours in the Black community before it's gone.
Wow.
So we need those that have graduated from Howard, those that have graduated from Morehouse, those that have graduated from the greatest Black institutions in the world to create a Black economy which we can handle all of our business, from our mental health to our education, you see, all the way down to our banking system. And until we do that, dear brother, no other group will respect us.
What do you believe is preventing us from being able to operate in that space? Because clearly we have individuals who have reached the levels of success and financial stability that are in the billions.
Right.
And, we often hear, those type of people need to reach back and build these banks and build these schools and hospitals. But those are a few individuals when, like you said, it's astonishing when you hear, our spending power is in the trillions.
Yeah.
But we don't have anything to call our own, specifically in the way that you just described, in our communities. What's preventing us from rallying all of that together?
Very simple. If you look at our 400-year sojourn here in America, there's a couple of things that happened to us. Number one, we were trained and taught, and even it was beat into us not to trust each other. Number two, we are a group that suffer more than any other group from envy and jealousy. See? And we have to grow beyond being envious and being jealous. You have a talent, and God has blessed you to do well with your talent. What do I look like being envious of you? And it's not that other ethnic groups don't have problems within each other.
Right.
But one thing I respect about my oppressor, they cannot like each other. But boy, if it's a good business deal, they're going to do it. They're going to invest.
Right.
I met with a couple of athletes once. And if you take some of our top athletes, billions of dollars worth of spending power.
Mm-hmm.
If they united, if the Denzels of the world united with the Oprahs of the world, united with the LeBron James of the world, and look, put your money together, which in business, you don't even have to use your money. Use the bank's money. The wealth of the wicked is stored for the righteous if we know how to use it.
Right.
And take the bank's money and come to South Central and rebuild it. And the first thing we invest in is education.
Right.
An education that unapologetically teach us who we are first. Because without the knowledge of self, we'll start going among other people trying to be them when we need to be unapologetically our black selves first.
Right.
See? And an education that don't indoctrinate us on how to be a manageable slave, but an education that teaches us how to be a boss, how to own, how to do for self.
Right.
And this is what I respect about other cultures. And so therefore now I come to South Central. I can build a campus to where, brother, you could either get a great education and learn technology or learn education. We could set up a school where we could teach you the 17 construction trades because we're about to pour $100 billion into rebuilding South Central. The Bible says it like this, that in order for the poor to sustain itself, it must rebuild the wasted cities. And I don't have to tell you, bro, South Central and the inner cities are for sale.
Yeah.
BlackRock, JP Morgan.
Yeah.
What are they coming in and doing? Where follow the money. They're coming into South Central, taking a dilapidated area that we tore down because
Right.
we don't have no knowledge.
Right.
And they're coming in, buying property that was nothing. It was worth nothing in our hand.
Right.
But when it's in their hand, why did all of a sudden the price go up? See? So, brother, the inner cities are for sale. And this is where we have to really, I'm going to say it like this. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said, with the forces that's against us, we either going to unite by choice or by force. But at the end of the day, we will unite. We're going to be forced to.
That's so powerful. I mean, so much wisdom, so much to unpack. I'd have to ask, I mean, because you're originally from an area that does support itself in the black community. And we look at it, today almost as the Mecca of Atlanta, Georgia. I mean, home of Dr. King, home of institutions that you speak of, black institutions that, have produced some great individuals from the Morehouses, the Spelmans, the entire AU Center. I feel that's probably one of the places that I do see the closest thing I could see to unity, especially in the space of capitalism. See more black executives. I even see, entertainment moving to that space. Brothers like Tyler Perry and even, over the years of the L.A. Reids and the Baby Faces who birthed the entire, from the Jermaine Dupri's, the Dallas Austins that created, what Atlanta music is today and have created so many millionaires.
Absolutely.
In our community. But even there, and even in these spaces where I feel like we have figured it out economically, I still get a sense of that envy, that jealousy that you speak of, that is, is the PTSD, the post-traumatic slave syndrome or disorder. The idea of that it isn't present in other communities is, like you say, you can go directly to the reasons why. Is because we were taught to not.
Yeah. And who's manipulating it?
Yeah, and that would be my question. Because we have this knowledge now, and even for myself personally, I think the question would be, because now the system is. The goal is to assimilate and to not acknowledge that there are core issues, and it's almost we want to remove ourselves from community, or not acknowledge the trauma that we actually could heal if we did the work. So, even economics aside, as a people, when having that conversation of progress. How important is it for us to, like you said, understand who we are, where we
Sure.
came from, and accept and almost be on message
Right.
of this is the Black community and the
Right.
value in it.
Right. There's my teacher, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, has taught us that there's two most powerful requisite knowledge that every human being have to have, no matter where they are on the continent. Number one, a thorough knowledge of who you are, dating back all the way to the first man. If you don't have a thorough knowledge of who you are, you can be manipulated into being anything. And number two, a thorough knowledge of God. Whatever you call that God by, you can call him Yahweh. There's some people, you go among the Native American, they call him Tantashala.
Yeah.
You can go into some parts of Africa, they call it Umguni Gungu. It don't matter. Jah.
Yeah.
But a knowledge of self and a knowledge of God. If you don't have that, see, if I know I have a creator, just like you have a phone, an Apple phone, it has a creator.
Right.
And when you buy that Apple phone, it comes with instructions. Now, you could not read the instructions. It's fine because, we think we know we just turn it on and use it.
Right.
But if you read the instructions, it tells you if you handle this phone this way, you will get the best use out of it. What instructions came with the human being? If in the Bible God says, I created man, listen to how he said he did it. In my image and after my likeness. Then look at what he downloaded in our DNA. Then I gave that man power and dominion over everything, and I placed him in a garden, not in a hood, not in the projects.
Right.
But we, because we are ignorant of metaphors, we think a garden means somewhere where it's flowers.
Right.
No, God placed us in an area where you could learn the science of everything. Because that's your potential. It is your potential to be a boss. It is your potential to rule. This is why we want to rule things. You see? That's why I want to have a hood. I want to be a shot caller. But the devil can manipulate it for evil when he knows who you are. The Holy Quran says it a little different. And he even, in the Quran, it gives the color that God made the first man. So the Quran said God created Adam out of black mud, fashioned into shape. And then he breathed into him of his inspiration, and he became a living soul. And I placed sun, moon, and star under his power. And all the angels was told to bow to him, except one. He refused because he said, I'm better. See? And that's the mindset of white supremacy, of thinking he's better. So when I know my potential, Brother Nick, when I know my history beyond America, if I found out that one of my ancestors was an engineer and built the pyramids, that's telling me my human potential. See? When we know those two things, and this is what the Nation of Islam do. When you join, you have to learn a thorough knowledge of who you are. Because once I do that, I'm not going to do nothing to harm me or anyone that looks like me. Because for the first time in my life, I was taught to hate myself. Now I love myself, and I don't suffer anymore from self-hatred. That's what we need. And it ain't about religion. I care nothing for a brother or sister having to join the Nation of Islam. Study your history. See? It's many books, John Henry Clark, Sheikh Anta Diop. Just go on that route. You'll walk right back into your human reality. So we don't have that, Brother Nick. So when we as a community, when I know what my human potential is, Chief, it ain't nothing I can't be. When you say the word calculus to me, I don't get fearful because I am calculus. When you say trigonometry to me, I ain't scared to go take that course because I am trigonometry. When you say astrology to me, I am astrology. Everything we see on the outside has been downloaded into man. But depending on the environment you grew up in, will determine the outcome of your reality. So this is a society where the wicked socially engineer gang members, socially engineer criminals, socially engineering our women and putting them up on a pole. We're the only ethnic group that degrade our women in our music. Who's having us to do that? Who know who we really are? Because when we wake up and find out who we are, and that the nearly 100 million of our ancestors who were at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean, when their prayer went up that God would free generations after them, we're at that time of the woke culture where our people are waking up, but they're being manipulated to do this or manipulated to do that. Have a beef in your song. Why? Why this brother and his followers now hate your followers?
Separation.
See? That's the whole game, divide and conquer. And so, again, Chief, that's where I see us going, and that's what I love about Atlanta. I grew up there.
Yeah.
Maynard Jackson.
Yeah.
Nothing could be built in the city of Atlanta if Black people didn't participate at the rate of their population.
Right.
So if we were 80% of the population, we had to get 80% of the contracts. See?
Right.
And so, therefore, he made it to where it was an evil plan. So again, brother, you can't teach a crackhead in the crack house. You have to get him out of the environment that re-stimulate him, isolate him, strengthen him, then send him to the crack house as an example that other crackheads can get out.
That's because you said so many powerful things. We're already wrapping up the first session, but even going into our next session, I would love to dive into what you touched on and being the separation and the manipulation within our community. And I want to know how much of it is, or how much do you believe is direct? How much of it is actually spiritual? How much are we processing it because it's in us at this point?
It's all spiritual.
Yeah. But you speak of who's telling us to beef with one another, who's looking to divide us. As you and I sit here, we say those are the works of the devil. But for the average person that's probably sitting and watching this and trying to find a practical approach, I would love to dive into, one, how to break those fears.
Yes, sir.
And how to acknowledge the truths in which we should chase. Because a lot of times we can get caught up in folklore and we rest in that to say, oh, well, I'll never be able to succeed. I'll never be able to progress because the way it's designed, I'm not designed to win. Even though I may have knowledge of self, maybe I know my lineage, maybe I know my potential, but I'm in a game that I didn't get all the pieces at the beginning. I didn't get all of the money in the monopoly. I didn't get my 1,500. I didn't get I didn't get an opportunity to read all of the instructions when I received my phone. So,
yes, sir.
So there's discouragement within our community and our people because I think we can't pinpoint at this point where to place our frustrations and our concerns and then how to overcome them and supersede because it's so mystical. It doesn't feel tangible of how I can break these chains.
Well, that's beautiful. We're taught from our teachings through the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is that the biggest enemy to Black progress, it's not white people, it's not Jewish people, it's not Asians, It's ignorance. Hosea said it like this: my people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. Brother, information is key. Knowledge is key. And one of the things we suffer from in our community is the literacy rate. See? The Holy Quran starts off by saying, read. The Bible says in the beginning was the word. One of the derivations of the word read means take on the mind of. How you going to become a millionaire and you don't talk to millionaires? See, we got a community that's pontificating on the corner, dreaming about being rich, but don't know how. Thinking of money, but don't know how money is used. See? And so therefore, man, it's Black excellence. And so when I sit with people with means, one of the things about other ethnic groups, they go in their community in search of the groups who do the best at different things. And then they flow power to them. If I have a group that clean up men and women like you've never seen before,
Right.
and raise them to such a level, why won't you support that?
Right.
See?
It's a fear. There's a fear.
Where did that come from?
Yeah, that's the question.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, it's like sometimes, and you've seen it, and I'm not bragging, but I can go to any hood, any area where there's mayhem. I've stopped 3 riots. When we show up, our people are cheering us on.
Right.
But nobody supports us. See, other groups, and this is why I study everybody. I study my Asian family. I study my Jewish. I look at what they're doing. They say, "Ooh, we need to do that." You can't make a movie unless you talk to their scholars on how this will either help or ill affect your people. You must portray us right. See? So you're making a movie. I'm like, hold on. You portraying us like that? Damn, why don't we ever win?
Right.
Why we die?
Yeah.
Why we got to be the pimps?
Yeah.
Why we got to be the prostitutes?
Right.
See? Where's our movie on some of our great?
Right.
See? So that our children can say, well, Hannibal was a Black man. He did that. I have that potential.
Right.
Then I ain't looking at being a pimp. I ain't looking at being a prostitute. We got a lot of work, dear brother. And I'm telling you, it's happening.
Yeah, it is.
We're coming together.
It is.
And we just have to be patient with the time. And there's nothing wrong, brother, with the minister said to me, brother, I want you to be like a bee. That's where I love to study nature. He said a bee, he don't stay at one flower. He go to every flower, many different flowers, and cross-pollinate. He don't just take, he leaves something and he takes something. And then he go to the next flower. So I can go to China. I don't care what other people saying about China. They're this kind of country. They doing something right.
Right.
So I go to China and I find out, wait a minute, you making socks that I spend $12 for? I can get them here for 2 cents.
Right.
Oh, I need to broker a deal with you, Chief.
Right.
I ain't into your politics,
Yeah.
but I'm into your manufacturing.
Right.
I go to Japan. Whoa, y'all are doing this? I need to take this back to the hood. I go to Korea. I go to Russia.
Yeah.
Oh, Russia's this. Well, I'll tell you one thing. Russia never colonized Africa. Out of all the European countries, they made no slaves in Africa. Still, I don't trust them. But if you got a technology that's going to help me rebuild South Central, I'm going to get it like a bee.
Yeah.
See? And so the scriptures say, I saw bees making honey in the carcass of a lion. America is this big old lion, and we can make honey in South Central, in New York, in Philadelphia, in D.C., if we just were to unite and stop letting our enemies tell us who we can and cannot unite with. because you don't like them. Stop.
Wow. And I definitely believe we got to pause there because that message right there is life-changing, thought-provoking. And as we get into our next session, I want to dive in deeper into the aspect of the Black man and his mental wellness.
That's a big subject.
Simply because, as we discuss now, the progress of our community, it has to start in here.
That's true.
And that's where, you know, the fears, the misconceptions, the manipulation, if we get clarity,
I love it.
I feel like we can, you know, jump over those obstacles.
Yes, sir.
So, this has been a great session. I'm sure there's so much love in the comments. Like, subscribe, and we'll do this again with Minister Abdul Malik.
My man.
My brother.
Yes, sir.